All right, let's jump into a deep dive here. If you're listening to this, I'm guessing you're probably into stuff like medicinal chemistry and human biology. So we're going to get into something you'll love, phytochemical. You know, those compounds in plants. Turns out they might just hold the key to living a longer, healthier life. We're looking at a pretty awesome scientific review today, unveiling the longevity potential of natural phytochemicals.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Over 210 anti-aging compounds, all hiding in plants and herbs we use every day.
It really makes you think about those ancient civilizations always searching for the fountain of youth.
Right.
Turns out they might have been on to something with all those herbs and remedies. We're just now starting to understand the science behind it.
Yeah, like we're finally cracking the code. And this review is super cool. It doesn't just list these compounds, it breaks them down into 8 groups by their chemical structure. AD explores 6 ways they could actually slow down aging. I'm hooked already. Where do we even begin?
Well, why don't we start with something I'm sure you're familiar with, ROS regulation.
Makes sense.
Reactive oxygen species, essential for life, but too much, and they wreak havoc.
Yeah, too much of a good thing, right?
Right. Well, some of these phytochemicals, they act like little bodyguards, scavenging those ROS and protecting our cells.
That's interesting. I did notice in the review they talked about how some of these compounds target very specific ROS, like curcumin, the stuff in turmeric. It actually prevents those nasty hydroxyl radicals from forming, the ones that can mess up our DNA.
Exactly. And that's what's so exciting for researchers like yourself. What if we could figure out which phytochemical targets which ROS?
Oh, wow, yeah.
It could be a game changer for treating age-related disease, way more precise than just popping a generic antioxidant supplement.
Okay, that's ROS regulation. What's next on this longevity pathway?
The nutrient sensing network. It's basically the control center for how our cells grow, use energy, and even how long they live. And get this, some phytochemicals can tweak this network to mimic calorie restriction.
Now, calorie restriction is a whole other topic and not exactly easy to stick to long term. So, are these compounds actually impacting the same pathways as cutting calories?
They sure are. Think about those big names in cell signaling. Isopathway, AMPK, MTOR, sirtuins, FOXO. They all work together to balance the cell's energy, and that has a huge impact on life.
Wow.
And there's research showing how specific phytochemicals can activate these pathways. Resveratrol from grapes, it can activate sirtuins, and studies show that leads to longer lifespans, at least in models.
So basically, resveratrol is tricking the cell into thinking it's on a calorie-restricted diet.
Pretty much. And there's more. Sulforaphane in broccoli. That one activates NRF2. It's a protein that protects the cell, and it's also boosted when you're calorie.
Interesting. So it's like we could get some of the benefits of calorie restriction without actually having to, well, restrict calories.
Exactly. Okay, ready for another one?
Hit me.
Let's talk about the mitochondria, the powerhouses of the cell. As we age, they get worn down, less efficient.
Right. Less energy.
Exactly, a classic sign of aging. But guess what?
Right.
Some of these phytochemicals, they can actually give our mitochondria a boost.
Okay, I'm listening. How do they do that?
Well, some trigger mitophagy, basically the cell's way of recycling those old, damaged mitochondria.
Oh, so like a cleanup crew.
Exactly. Then you have other phytochemicals that stimulate mitochondrial biogenesis, which means making brand new mitochondria. It's like a 2-for-1 deal.
Wow, so cleaning out the old and making new ones. I like it.
Right. And this is where it gets even cooler. There's this concept called mitohormesis.
Mitohormesis, say that 5 times fast.
Uh-huh. I know, right? So basically, some compounds, like juglone from walnuts, they stress the mitochondria just a little bit.
Wait, stress, isn't that a bad thing?
Not always. It's like exercise. You stress your muscles to make them stronger.
Ah, I see.
Same with mitochondria. This tiny bit of stress makes them tougher, boosts their function in the long run.
So a little bit of stress can actually be a good thing. Who knew? Now I really see how this review is relevant to folks working in these fields. This is packed with specific compounds, pathways, even potential targets for therapy.
Absolutely. We're just getting started. There's so much more to uncover. The next big thing the review talks about is autophagy. You know, the cell's cleanup crew.
Ah, yes, autophagy. I think everyone's heard about cells getting rid of junk, but I'm curious about how this all ties into aging. Does autophagy change as we get older?
It does. As we age, it gets kind of sluggish, like a garbage disposal that's slowing down.
Oh, I see.
So all that cellular debris starts piling up.
Makes sense. So it's not just that things are working slower, but there's also more gunk building.
Right. And that buildup, it can really mess with how the cell functions. Ultimately, that contributes to age.
So it's like a double whammy. Things slow down and the trash piles up. But the review doesn't just focus on the bad news, right? There's got to be a way to give autophagy a boost.
You bet. Some phytochemicals can actually ramp up autophagy. It's like calling in reinforcements for for the cleanup crew.
Awesome. Any examples?
Timatidine.
Timatidine.
Yeah. In tomatoes.
Oh, cool.
It can kickstart mitophagy, remember? That specialized autophagy that targets the mitochondria.
Right, right. So it's like a targeted cleanup effort for those little energy factories.
Exact. Then there's purerin from kudzu, which can boost lysosome-involved autophagy.
Ooh, that sounds even more powerful.
It is. It widens the cleanup, targets more stuff in the cell.
So we've got these plant compounds helping our cells stay clean and efficient as we age. This review is giving me so many research ideas already. What's next on our longevity list?
Let's talk gut microbiota.
The gut microbiota, it's like the hottest topic in research these days. Everyone's talking about it. But what's the connection to longevity?
Well, as we age, the composition of our gut microbiota changes. And those changes,
What about them?
they can actually make us less healthy overall. But here's the exciting part. Phytochemicals can actually influence those changes.
Wow, really?
Yeah, they can help the good bacteria flourish and keep the bad guys in check.
So it's kind of like we're gardening, but instead of plants, we're cultivating a healthy gut ecosystem.
That's a great way to put it. And remember, those short-chain fatty acids, those SCFAs, produced by the good bacteria.
Right, SCFAs, they're like the fertilizer for a healthy body.
Exactly. And they've been linked to all sorts of good, better metabolism, less inflammation, you name it.
So if these phytochemicals are boosting the good bacteria, they're indirectly helping us produce more SCFAs, which in turn could help us live longer.
You got it. The review even highlights a few specific compounds, like genistein from soybeans.
Okay, soybean.
It's been shown to rejuvenate the aging gut.
Wow, really?
Yeah, at least in animal studies. The idea is that it promotes a healthier balance of microbes, and that could translate into a longer life.
That's amazing. It's like these compounds are working on so many levels, directly on our cells and indirectly through our gut bacteria. It really shows how everything in our bodies is connected.
Absolutely. It's this intricate web, and we're just starting to understand how it all works. Ready for the last pathway? It's one you'll appreciate with your background.
Bring it on. What's the final piece of the longevity puzzle?
Lipid metabolism.
Lipid metabolism.
You know, the way our bodies process fats.
Right, of course. We know that staying active and maintaining a healthy weight can help us live longer, but I'm really interested in how lipid metabolism plays into this on a deeper level, beyond just avoiding obesity.
Well, that's what's so fascinating about this review. It shows how phytochemicals can actually regulate lipid metabolism in ways that go beyond just losing weight. They can influence how we metabolize cholesterol, how we make fatty acids, even how our genes handle fats.
So they're working on multiple fronts, not just about how much fat we store, but also how our bodies use it.
Exactly. Take EGCG, for example, the compound from green tea. It's been shown to have a positive effect on cholesterol.
Right.
And it's not just about its antioxidants.
Oh, interesting. And what about resveratrol? We talked about that earlier.
Resveratrol, that's a good one. It's been linked to better insulin sensitivity and glucose metabolism, both super important for health.
So it's like these phytochemicals are fine-tuning our metabolism, making sure our bodies handle lipids in a way that keeps us healthy as we age.
You got it. And remember that protein we mentioned earlier? HSF1.
Yeah, HSF1. I remember reading about it in the review. It's involved in lipid metabolism, right?
Right. HSF1 plays a key role in keeping our cells balanced. It helps them respond to stress, and it's thought to influence how our bodies store and use fats.
So it's like a master regulator, keeping everything running smoothly, and it's also linked to how we handle lipids.
Exactly. And here's the really cool part. Certain phytochemicals can actually activate HSF.
They can. Wow.
The review mentions ferulic acid, found in rice bran, and Tirella, a dipeptide found in hydrolyzed maize protein, as examples.
So theoretically, by activating HSF1, these phytochemicals could be promoting healthier lipid metabolism, which could then contribute to a longer lifespan, like they're flipping a switch for cellular resilience.
It's an exciting area of research for sure. It really highlights how these compounds can work on multiple levels to influence the aging process. But you know, we've been talking a lot about the science here. I think it's time to bring it back to you. How can you use this knowledge to live a longer, healthier life?
That's a great point. We've been deep in the weeds of the research, but I'm ready to hear about the practical application. How can we take all this knowledge and turn it into actions that support healthy aging? Okay, so we've talked about 6 pathways to longevity, all influenced by phytochemicals: ROS regulation, nutrient sensing, mitochondrial function, autophagy, the gut microbiota, and even lipid metabolism. It's pretty amazing how these plant compounds can impact such complex processes.
It really is. And we're just scratching the surface. There's so much more to learn, so many connections to make between these pathways and the specific compounds that influence them.
I'm already feeling inspired. But for our listener who maybe doesn't have a lab to run off to, what's the key takeaway here? It's exciting, but also kind of overwhelming. How do we actually use this knowledge to live a longer, healthier life?
I get it. It can definitely feel overwhelming. But here's the thing. You don't need to memorize every single phytochemical or pathway. It's about the bigger picture. Nature's given us this incredible toolbox of compounds that can help us stay healthy and maybe even live longer. Just focus on eating a diverse diverse plant-based diet, you're already doing a lot of good.
So it's more about the pattern of eating than obsessing over every little ingredient. Like, I don't need to be counting milligrams of resveratrol in every grape I eat.
Exactly. Enjoy a variety of fruits, veggies, legumes, whole grains. You're naturally getting a whole symphony of beneficial phytochemicals. And as you learn more, you can fine-tune things to fit your needs.
It makes healthy eating sound a lot more fun, that's for sure. One thing I found really interesting in this review was the idea of personalized nutrition. Is that something you see becoming more common, especially with all the research on the gut microbiome these days?
Definitely. As we understand the gut microbiome better, I think personalized nutrition will become way more sophisticated. Imagine getting your gut microbiome sequence and then getting specific recommendations to help the good bacteria thrive.
That's wild, like a personalized roadmap to gut health and longevity.
Exactly. And phytochemicals play a huge role in that. We might even discover brand new compounds that have even more powerful effects on specific pathways or bacterial community. The possibilities are endless. We've come a long way from those ancient quests for immortality, haven't we? Now we're using science to unravel the secrets of longevity.
And it's not just about living longer, it's about living well. This knowledge gives us the power to take control of our own health. We're not just passengers on this aging journey. We can make choices that support our bodies and help them stay resilient.
I love that. And for those of us lucky enough to be in fields like medicinal chemistry and human biology, it's a privilege to contribute to these discoveries and find real-world solutions.
It is a privilege and a responsibility.
Yeah.
I'm excited to keep learning, keep exploring, and keep sharing this knowledge. And to our listener, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of phytochemicals and longevity. We hope you've learned something new and maybe even gained a new appreciation for the power of plants. Until next time, keep diving deep.